night game. The Garden was quite loud, honestly. Pacers-Knicks, Brunson left the game with an injury in the first quarter, but we all knew he'd be back, and he was. 2-0 series lead now, 130-121 final. He finished with 29, 24 of those came, of course, in the second half. OG Anunoby was having a night, a playoff career high of 28. And then he got hurt. Dante, 28. Tyrese Haliburton did have the better night. You knew he would. 34 points, 9 assists. But Jalen Brunson misses the entire second quarter for what they called a right foot injury, and then comes back, scores 24 in the second half. It also happened to be the fourth and on the anniversary of Willis Reed's dramatic return for Game 7. They played the video.
Yeah, I mean,
it was kind of amazing.
That's the craziest thing. That's on the anniversary of Willis Reed where he did this, and just can this guy do anything wrong, Jalen Brunson? He goes out, he's playing through injury. He misses an entire, probably 12 minutes, because Tibbs doesn't ever take him and Josh Hart
Yeah, he
out.
did.
So he misses 12 minutes and still manages to have 29 points, go 11 of 18 from the field, miss an entire quarter, go through halftime, basically be out 30 to 45 minutes, and then still come back and absolutely dominate in the second half. And he made so many big shots and big plays in the fourth quarter. Like, look, that is a tough shot. That's great defense. That is just bully ball. It's great touch. He beat them in so many different ways last night with his outside shooting, with bullying guy like Nembhard and Haliburton. When you look at him, they look like the same size, but Jalen Brunson is so strong. He's got such a low center of gravity. He's crafty. He's got he can create space. He almost plays like Luka, like in slow, his own pace. You can't really speed him up. You can't put a taller, bigger, slower guy on him because he'll go by you. Can't put a small guy on him because he'll bully ball him. But the fact that he did this after having an injury, after leaving, missing that much time and coming out and didn't miss a beat, like, this is a bad game for him having 29 points.
It is. It's under.
And it was unbelievable. And he literally closed the game and made clutch plays down the stretch every single possession.
What are they doing back there, Lou? Because, you know, as a mortal person myself, I would think that if my foot hurt that bad, that
I'm picturing
done.
Varsity Blues. Like, can he play?
Yeah, like, are they? And he came out, apparently, he came out in the half to shoot around, and the crowd went nuts, and he was, like, calming them down because he wasn't 100% sure whether he'd be able to go or not. But he did, Lou. So what goes on back there that makes things better?
It really depends on the severity of the injury. Sometimes you can be back there getting x-rays, you can be back there getting stitches, getting retaped. If you got an ankle issue, if there's something going on with your knee, you might be able to get some treatment, get some heat on it, get a quick little massage, a stretch. It can be an array of things depending on what you're dealing with, you know. So depending on what you're dealing with, I think it looked like a thigh or something like that he was dealing with. So they probably had to do some stretching to get him. Was it his
right foot? Yeah, which is
it's crazy because there's not really much you can do that besides maybe tape it or put a different shoe on, tighten it up.
Maybe a medicine of some sort.
Yeah, maybe.
Right. Yeah, what Chandler said, probably just a massage, get a retape and just evaluate where he was. And I'm pretty sure he was back there fighting like hell, letting them know that he was going back in his basketball game. And I'm sure they were on his side. Sometimes in the regular season, they'll probably shut you down and be like, we'll try again another day. But being in the position that they're in, I'm pretty sure him and the training staff, they were on the same page of trying to get him back on that floor for that third quarter.
It is crazy that it's the 54th anniversary of the Willis Reed moment. And you don't even have to be a monster basketball fan. You hear Willis Reed and you're like, oh, I know what that refers to. And then I'm thinking they show all these videos during the course of the game. You don't realize that he's about to get hurt. It's nuts. It's movie-like in the way everything gets played out. Somebody who did not have a Hollywood ending to his evening would be Rick Carlisle. He was not happy, got 2 technicals, ejected out of this one late in the fourth. And then he opened up his press conference with a long laundry list of what went wrong. Here he is.
Small market teams deserve an equal shot. They deserve a fair shot, no matter where they're playing.
No matter where they're playing.
Excuse.
I got an issue with that because
Okay,
2 small market teams on the other conference, the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves, don't have the same excuse, and they're not saying things like that. And they're an even smaller market than the Indiana Pacers. So I don't love this from Rick. I understand what he said. Coaches and players, they just want consistency. So when they allow the New York Knicks and they allow the Pacers in their first series to be physical and game 1 to be a little more physical, and then it changes on a play-to-play basis, that's tough. Or when they miss a call and then they give you a makeup call on the other end, they don't like that. So they just want it to be consistent, which I understand. And some of these plays, when you look back again, when you do the replay thing and you slow it down, of course they are fouls. They are more physical than things. But there's also some other plays where they got away from having fouls, where they were a little too physical in New York, and the Knicks didn't get the whistle. So I respect Tyrese Haliburton, honestly, after this more than Rick Carlisle's comments. He said, it's not the refs. We lost this game because we got outworked, we got outplayed. The refs had nothing to do with the end of this game. Now, as a coach, I love that my coach is sticking up for us, and I know what he's doing. Now he's trying to get the momentum for him. They know they have home court coming up, so hopefully they're now getting the benefit of the doubt on the whistle. But this is the small market thing I'm not buying. The two of the best teams right now in the NBA are the Oklahoma City Thunder and Minnesota Timberwolves, and they are smaller markets.
Those are small markets, Lou.
Yeah, I respect Coach Carlisle a great deal, right? But I feel like this was his built-in excuse. This was his built-in angle of how he was going to take this series. You know, he had a similar complaint after game one. You know, talking about small markets and fouls and this and that. Listen, the New York Knicks had 3 guys with 25-plus points shooting over 50% from the field. That has nothing to do with refereeing. That's about game planning. That's about going out and completing your game plan. And the Indiana Pacers hadn't been able to do that in New York. The great news is the next 2 games are in that small market that you're talking about in Indiana. Now, is the whistle going to go your way? Is the fan base and everybody else is going to be behind you and rally behind you guys? Absolutely. You got your ass kicked twice on the road. I think the New York Knicks outplayed them. There hasn't been a huge discrepancy that I've seen visibly from the difference between how the game has been refereed from the New York Knicks to the Indiana Pacers. So I just feel like this is something that he's had on his mind, that he was looking for any way to kind of get this point across to the media, and I don't think it's working. I
mean, we were talking about it this morning. He's submitted to the league, I want to say 70-something plays from both games for their review. Which, by the way, if you're the guy that received that, or the woman that received that in the office, you're like, oh, for the love of God, how many plays do we have to look at?
And you know the other team sees everything you submit.
It's kind of weird.
The Knicks are just like, it's like every possession.
It is. That's a lot. There was a specific one, too, that he mentioned is the Haliburton getting shoved in the back. He brings up the fact that Haliburton has a sore back. Everybody knows that. And then Hart shoves him. So you have a point here.
Again, yeah, when it's not a bang-bang transition play and the refs are probably looking at 3 different situations here, yeah, of course, that's a foul. You can't just push a guy like that. Now, again, is this possession, though, game-altering? Is this why they lost the game? Because they didn't get a shove in the back when he wasn't even trying to shoot or create his own shot? He literally was just dribbling the ball out.
He didn't even fall.
Is it a foul? Yeah, sure. Could that have changed, you know, the rotations for Hart if that was his 4th or 5th foul? But, like, you can't praise physicality and playoff basketball and intensity and then bitch and moan when you don't get the whistle.
Lou's like watching it intently. Lou's the same way, though,
yeah,
right?
Because what is annoying, Lou? If Tyrese fell, they would have called it. So that would piss me off. Like you discipline flopping, but if he would have flopped there and actually fell on the floor, it would have been a foul. So that is why players do flop, because they get the call more often than not.
I'm proud that he didn't fall.
But I'm also thinking about Josh Hart losing his mind in the second half because he pushed someone and they called it, and during a tight game when they're up 2 points. You know, so Indiana has gotten some of these breaks. Are the referees going to get everything right? Absolutely not. You know, obviously they've been flawed throughout the postseason, and everybody's on whether one side or another. Somebody is going to complain. I think the referees have been doing a decent job. I think the New York Knicks have just been a better team so far.
The 7 of the 8 playoff games that the Knicks have won so far have been clutch wins, 6-1 in those, or they have been clutch games. Can they keep? I mean, look, we're going to get to the OG Anunoby part as well, because they seem to get some bad news a little bit every day or so. Can they keep this up?
I mean, they've been pretty consistent, Michelle. It's crazy. And this isn't the most talented team that's left in the field. This isn't the most, you know, offensive skilled team. This team just simply plays harder than you.
Yeah.
They play defense. They outwork you. They grind every single possession. They have guys that just have mastered their role. They know that Dante DiVincenzo, he's playing defense, he's shooting threes. Josh Hart is crashing the offensive glass. He's diving on the floor. He's doing all those little things.
Everywhere.
Jalen Brunson, there's no such thing as a bad shot. You have a mismatch. Every time you have the basketball, go be aggressive and score. Hartenstein, go get a tip out late in the game that makes that big momentum shifting play where then we can get another swing three to Deuce McBride, who your role is to come in and be aggressive. So everybody has their role. Everybody stays in their lane, and they just play hard. In the NBA, half the battle is playing defense and playing hard. There's obviously talent can win you a lot of games on certain nights, but the New York Knicks don't have that talent level per se, but they do have the ethic and the dog and the toughness in them where that alone was going to win them a lot of games.
It's almost like they're being tested, Lou. We're going to keep losing dudes in the series?
Oh, they're going to be tested, but this is good for them because when those tests come up, they have the experience of winning close basketball games. They have the experience of learning how to grind out these situations, dealing with the referees, dealing with the fans, dealing with the pressure of it being the playoffs. So the deeper and deeper that you go, these experiences are going to be valuable. It's going to go the New York Knicks' way a lot of these times with them having so many close games.
I would have to imagine that the 7 players that he's been playing, that changes just by necessity, right? I mean, you may not have a choice.
Well, yeah, and then especially if you get once you get to the OG thing,
Yep.
if he's missing, then there's got to be the next man up, which I said last week. They do have guys that can fill that in. They do have the Shake Miltons. They do have the Alec Burks. Are they OG? No. And OG, like, there's no one on their roster that does what he does. That's the problem. That would be a brutal blow if he's out for a long time, right? Because his versatility, his defensive presence, his shot making at certain points of the game, there's no one like him. And they've already been through everything. They lost Randall, which almost helped them in a way because it let Jalen Brunson become Jalen Brunson of who he is today. They just lost Mitchell Robinson again. He was such a factor when they play a team like Philly and the physicality and the defense that he played on Joel Embiid. So now if you lose OG, again, they have the pieces that can step up. They have the guys that clearly can play the minutes.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to look to that bench at some point and fill in these guys like a Alec Burks or something.
Is Jericho Sims hurt, or is he just
No, I think
not
he's just not playing.
Okay, so I mean, maybe so he
But
gets
these
some
guys,
minutes to
the
see.
Shake Miltons and Alec Burks, will have to play if OG's out.
Lou, Josh Hart has played 374 of the 389 possible minutes this postseason. First of all, well done. You don't see that very often, but what do you make of that? How do you react?
If I'm Josh Hart, I'm torn. I'm happy as hell that my coach trusts me so much that he needs to keep me on the floor, but I also want a little break. This is going to be a long run. It's looking like the New York Knicks are in control of this series and more than likely going to move past Indiana and head to the next round, and they're going to play, obviously probably one of the better teams, and that's going to be the Boston Celtics that's been in this league this year. And so, again, these are great experiences for him. Everything should be a learning experience, but at the same time, you want some rest. You want to be able to have an opportunity to get on and off the floor and keep your body fresh. And so, can Tibbs keep playing 7 guys? It's going to be tough. He's going to have to find some minutes somewhere on that bench. He's going to have to trust another guy or two, especially if they want an opportunity to try to move forward in the Eastern Conference, try to get out of the Eastern Conference and beat the Boston Celtics. They're going to have to use more guys.
Imagine being like the young guy drafted to the Knicks last year, or a young guy that signed to be Josh Hart's backup. Like, I'm going to get some opportunity here.
It's
and
like
then
the
they
one
just
guy.
never play because the cat plays the entire game. I just can't picture that, like that talk with the agent, like, hey, you're going to get opportunity.
Don't worry, he can't play the whole time.
Your number's going to come. No, you're not. This guy's going to play the entire game, the entire series.
Hey, Chandler, I was AI's backup. It took me 2 years to get on the floor.
I mean. That's Allen Iverson, though. That makes sense.
Actually, that's funny you bring up
listen,
AI.
Josh Hart is playing Allen Iverson minutes, man. It's the same thing.
But isn't AI like
He's
wasn't
playing
that
Allen Iverson minutes?
Wasn't it Philly and was it Indy? They sat AI for a little bit of rest during a playoff run just because that was the strategy they decided to go with. And I only bring it up because right now the Knicks are up 2-0. They go back to Indy here, or they go to Indy. I don't know if OJ is even going to be able to play. It looked like a hamstring. Who knows how bad it is? But I've heard theories already being floated out there that perhaps maybe you rest.
Don't do this. Don't do this,
You
Beadle.
rest a Brunson,
Don't do
maybe.
this.
Just give the other guys a chance to go out there and get some
no.
work done. Look, I'm only saying what others have said.
Hell no.
Nothing.
No,
Not even a little.
Why would you play with the game like that? Why would you even think about playing with the game like that?
I agree.
This is
Hell
like
no.
if Joel Embiid is healthy, he can play. If Kawhi Leonard's healthy, he can play. This isn't the point of season of rest.
What if you're kind of healthy?
And also, we're talking about Tom Thibodeau. You think he's going to
That's-
rest this guy?
I mean, that's the bottom line.
He would make him tape up his ankles tomorrow in practice just to show him he can play, let alone play him. Like, if he can play, he is going to play. And again, like I said, he is so valuable to that team. There are so many other guys that can fill in, can do things. They can't do and provide what he provides. So they need him. They need him in this series because this series is far from over. And they
for sure.
damn sure need him in the next round against Boston.
It's hard to even get that far ahead right now because they just seem so hobbled. But, also the adrenaline wears off after the game last night. We don't know how bad that foot actually is. Like, he might have awakened this morning and been like, I can't walk.
Yeah, for sure.
Which would be the worst.
And that's going to be something, again, when you're in the playoffs, you need time to heal these injuries.
We have
and
today.
And they don't, yeah.
You have today and half of tomorrow.
They don't have time.
So there you go. Yeah, they're not like the Nuggets who get an entire week off in
Right.
between games. It's a gift. Tyrese Haliburton, much better showing for him. 34 points. Pascal Siakam, Miles Turner, not so much. Combined for 20. They were 10 of 29 from the field. It's kind of crazy that you can't seem to get the three together on one night to be great.
Yeah, that's tough. It's tough for any team. When you need a collective effort, and you look at the Knicks last night, they got a little bit of something from every single player that checked into the game. Last night, I knew this was going to happen. Tyrese Haliburton,
Yeah.
it was just the fact that his over/under was 1 point above Josh Hart was crazy to
Silly.
me, and I took full advantage of that in my personal life.
I saw that.
on
Oh, congrats.
Yeah, it was crazy, and he's too good to be held down like that. And I knew he was going to be aggressive. And look, the Pacers have done enough to win these two games. Have they? No, but they're not going back to Indiana, disgruntled. They're not going down devastated. They don't feel like Cleveland right now against Boston. They 100% still think they have enough. They've done enough to win this game. They need to tweak a few things. They need to continue to play fast. What makes them different is the pace they play at when they play the pick and roll. They play the two-man game. They shoot a bunch of threes. They're almost slowing down playing the New York Knicks game. They have to. That's not what won them the in-season tournament. That's not what got them a hot, offensive pace, the craziest rapid pace in the NBA during the regular season. So they need to get back to that. But it starts with Tyrese Haliburton, and it was great to see him kind of get back to himself, be aggressive, and dominate the game.
Anything you saw there, Lou, as far as, anything different from Chandler saying that? Get all three together on the same page.
No, I agree with him 100%. Everything that he said was true. As far as Siakam and Turner go, look, they got 30 attempts in between them. So the opportunities are there. They got to make the best of them, and they haven't been able to do that so far. So I think that'll be different in their home gym, on their home floor with their home base, and they'll play better basketball. But they just got to play better. It's not really a science to that.
It's going to be loud in there. T.J. McConnell, this was a bit of a head-scratcher in this one. Had 10 points, 12 assists. But in the fourth, he only played 4 minutes, which is crazy because he seems to be the one guy that defends Jalen Brunson the best. And it was a 2-point game when he left. Was that a coaching error? I mean, I hate to call it that, but why?
Sure, just because they lost, and he has been that spark plug. And T.J. McConnell is such an interesting player because you look at him and he looks like my
the
accountant.
worst.
Yeah, but he plays hard. He talks shit.
He's
He's
does.
tough. He's such a savvy player, and he's always been a worker. He outsmarts you, and he's just crafty. So the fact that he had so much success early in this game and didn't play at the end of the game, like, this is a nasty little
I didn't
move.
get it.
Look at him bark at the base. Like, I love him. And so, yeah, when I'm getting this production and those other guys are struggling, but they did get something from Ben Shepherd, which was nice. Obi Toppin had a great game.
Yeah.
So as a coach, it's hard to kind of manage all that. But yeah, I don't think there's any reason why T.J. McConnell, who's been so good in this series and last series, only played 4 minutes in the fourth quarter. I think that will obviously change in Game 3.
Yeah, Lou, even the announcers were like, I bet T.J. McConnell's on his way back in after a real quick break, and then it didn't happen.
I think Indiana, they failed the eye test, right? If you're watching that game, you're looking at the impact that T.J. McConnell is having on both ends of the floor, how he's playing, how he's controlling traffic. He's putting pressure on the defense by getting in the lane, even finishing at the rim, and he's picking up guys. He's junking up the game. They failed the eye test, and this is where it comes in with coaching. A lot of times you have coaches that are game managers, and then you have coaches that make adjustments on the fly. Sometimes you just manage the minutes. At 9 minutes, there's an automatic sub because this is your slot of time where you're going to play. Great coaches, and not saying Coach Carlisle isn't a great coach, but a lot of great coaches, they make adjustments and they go with the group of guys that they feel like can win them the basketball game. I don't feel like Indiana gave themselves that opportunity last night by sitting T.J. McConnell as long as they did and how he was playing.
That was surprising to see. I kept waiting for him to get back in there. What do they need to do to get back in the series?
Well, like I said, they got to do what gave them success early on, and they need to play fast.
Yep.
Play fast, run to your spots, have the spacing down. Tyrese Haliburton, be aggressive with the ball, and do what made you different in that in-season tournament, where you can. It's hard for teams to adjust, and the New York Knicks like to bog it down. They like to slow it down. They like to be physical. But when you can get deflections, you can get steals, and they can get out in transition, do what they do best, it opens up the entire game for them. And obviously, they need to have Miles Turner. They need to have him be better. They need to have Siakam be more efficient. Even though Siakam did hit some big shots in the kind of the off-the-block post-up in the fourth quarter last night, for them to beat this team, they're so good defensively, they need to have those 130, 140-point games, and they obviously have to play better defense too, and they got to find a way to negate everybody on the Knicks contributing. But like I said, this season is far from over. I don't think they're hanging their head right now. I think they're Game 3, they win that, and then all of a sudden, we got a real situation on our hands. Yeah, so they're in a fine shape. They don't feel like Cleveland right now. You know what I mean? They don't feel like these teams are just getting absolutely
Forgot about that
smacked.
series.
Like, yeah, like they are okay. Now, if they lose Game 3, night. But right now, they're fine.
Maybe not fly Reggie Miller into the Garden and call the game.
Yeah.
They got to junk the game up a little bit, Chandler. That's the only thing that I saw. They got to junk the game up. You know, Jalen Brunson is too comfortable out there. I don't know why in the hell they keep leaving them hard on this island with Jalen Brunson and these ISOs. Run and jump, get the ball out of his hands, trap him at half court in some of these high pick and rolls. They're just literally letting him play one-on-one, and Jalen Brunson is winning these matchups 95% of the time down the floor. They got to give him different looks, got to get the ball out of his hands to make somebody else beat you other than that. Hell, if DiVincenzo is going to have 28, make him have 38, but it ain't going to be Jalen Brunson.
I like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the method that Minnesota's taken with Denver. Like, make these other guys beat us. We're going to have a guy guarding him. We're going to have another guy floating. We're going to have opportunities to trap, to blitz. But I'm with Lou. Like, you can't. If the New York Knicks are going to beat me, it ain't going to be Jalen Brunson.
Don't let that be the story.